Good afternoon, viewers. You are watching FPJ, and I am Inderjeet Kaur. So, new GST rates have come up, and these will be implemented and effective from September 22. So, the GST Council has done an overhaul. Now, there are viewers, for the consumers, for everyone, but there are certain sectors that would certainly then we'll discuss about that also, what would be the impact, and for us, how much is it beneficial. Earlier there were four GST slabs, so certain items were quite costlier, and now there are many items that are cheaper. Now we'll discuss about all those items. By now you must be checking all those items which are cheaper now, because there are certain essentials that are cheaper. If I tell you, there are chocolates, ice creams, butter, cheese, ghee, pizza bread, all those are cheaper now. But the items that are costlier are luxury items, I would say, because there are only certain items which have been kept in the 40% slab. So this is the third slab, which wasn't earlier there, but this is implemented only for the luxury items and tobacco related items. So we'll discuss about that also, and how much impact is it going to have on our lives. And because this was a long demand, and now opposition has also weighed in and said that this is too late and too little. But let's try to understand how much is it going to impact our lives. I am joined by Advocate Abhishek Rastogi, who is an acclaimed economist also. He has written a lot of books on GST and other stuff related to economy and business. Welcome, sir, on FPJ. My first question to you is, because as a layman, I would like to understand, and from our viewers also, how much impact is it going to have on our life? Because there are just two slabs now. Lot of items which we use every day are cheaper now.
Thanks, Inderjeet. I think this is a very welcome move, first of all. Secondly, the move comes at the time of the festival. The announcements were made very clearly by the Honorable Prime Minister that around Diwali this would be implemented. We are seeing it as a date of 22nd of September. So Navratra begins, the festival begins, and the rate cut also begins. Now, when we talk about the impact, there were a lot of discussions with respect to various goods and services, and we'll come to that in a moment. But I think the GST Council, under the guidance of the Honorable Prime Minister, has gone way ahead. So if you see even the beauty services, yoga, spa, salon, etc., haircut, etc., these were never under the radar for a rate cut. But what we understand from the Prime Minister's office is that a lot of Indians had written to the Prime Minister office. Prime Minister himself has gone into details of several rate cuts which have happened, and he ensured that this rate rationalization is robust from the perspective of rate reduction, benefit to industry, benefit to consumers, increased purchasing power which comes with this, and hence I think the consumer should all be excited around the Diwali season.
Yes, certainly, Mr. Abhishek. I will come back to you, but first let's listen in what FM Nirmala Sitharaman has said.
There is a complete reduction. Reduction from 18 or from 12 to 5%. I list out those items, all of whom have come to 5% from either 18 or from 12. Common man items such as hair oil, toilet soap, soap bars, shampoos, toothbrushes, toothpaste, bicycles, tableware, kitchenware, and other household articles have all come to 5, whether they were in 18 or whether they were in 12. Similarly, reduction of GST from 5% to nil. 5 से 0 में जाने वाले items indicate कर रहा हूँ. Ultra high temperature milk, the UHT milk, chena or paneer, all the Indian breads will see nil rate. So roti kisi ke upar bhi, chapati or roti or paratha or whatever it is, they all come to nil. Reduction of GST from 12% or from 18% to 5 इसमें फूड आइटम्स बहुत सारे हैं, नमकीन से भुजिया है, सॉसेस है, पास्ता है, इंस्टेंट नूडल्स है, चॉकलेट्स, कॉफ़ी, प्रिजर्व्ड मीट, कॉर्नफ्लेक्स, बटर, घी, ये सब 5% में आ रही है। फिर रिडक्शन फ्रॉम 28 to 18%। इसमें मिडिल क्लास के एस्पिरेशंस मीट करने वाले बहुत सारी चीज़ हैं, एयर कंडीशनिंग मशीन्स, TVs which are over 32 inches, all TVs now at 18%. ये I want to underline, all TVs are now at 18%. Dishwashing machines, small cars, motorcycles equal to or less than 350 cc are all now coming to 18. Agriculture goods such as tractors, agricultural, horticultural and forestry machines for soil preparation or cultivation, harvesting or threshing machines, including straw or fodder balers, composting machines, etc., are all coming down from 12 to 5%.
So we heard that. I'll come back
Reduction
to
of GST
Mr.
from 12 to
Abhishek
5%.
Rastogi again. So, Mr. Abhishek Rastogi, my question to you is now the items that have been listed. That's what everyone uses, the layman uses, all the citizens uses, like toothbrushes and pizza breads. And she has very clearly said that now your parathas, chapatis, rotis are not going to be costlier. So my question to you is, it looks very favorable, but there must be certain sectors that are must have impacted by now or maybe after 22nd of September. But is it sustainable for the government, because there is a lot of revenue that was generated?
So I think certainly they've done the arithmetic. A lot of these products which are either of daily use or which are meant for mass consumption has gone from 12% to 5%, or even from 18% to 5%. But let's understand the arithmetic. If you see the standard rate of 18% prior to this change, 77% of the goods and services were covered under the bracket of 18%, which means that only 23% of the items were there in the other rates of 5% or 12% or 28%. Now, the other part of the arithmetic is that the 28% also becomes 40%. Plus, there will be national calamity contingent duty or some sort of a levy as well, so that if there is some fund which needs to be used from the consolidated fund of India, that can be used by the government in emergency, or to give it to some state in certain identified ways. So I think when we talk again about the arithmetic, of course this is a populist measure, and this measure was not only required. And why was it essential? Is because today the country is facing a lot of demotivational business aspect, and hence at this stage it was important, when we are having these tariff wars, etc., to give impetus to the Indian domestic indigenous industry. So I think these announcements would act not only as the shot in the arm, but will also be used very importantly to grease the wheels of economy. That's very important. So I think from the perspective of the consumer, and also from the perspective of industry, because there were a lot of disputes related to classification, whether you would, and I have so many of these examples which I can tell you, where classification was a big dispute. So for instance, what happens to donuts? Would you tax it at 12%? Would you tax it at 18%, or would you treat that as a restaurant? Because there are these outlets which run in the form of a restaurant or an outlet. So there were a lot of these disputes which go off. So there'll be more tax certainty from the perspective of the businesses. There'll be more purchasing power capacity, because this is an indirect tax. The tax gets levied by the business, but the burden is on the consumer. So the consumer would get this benefit. In turn, when the consumer gets the benefit, there could be two things. Yesterday, somebody asked me, if the toothpaste rate has gone down, will I start brushing my teeth twice? Certainly not. But what you would do is that possibly you may have a premium brand One, if you always wanted to, spend on a premium brand, you could do that because the rates for all sorts of toothpastes or toothbrushes would be under the same category. Secondly, when your indirect tax burden is less, you would end up having more savings. The moment you would end up having more savings, you would want to spend something which is in your bucket list. So, for instance, if you want to buy a bike or a car which falls under the beneficial rate now, and that was in your bucket list, you would go ahead and do that. Similarly, is the lot of these white goods. So around Diwali, Dhanteras, and Navratra, this is the festival time when a lot of these uh, television sets, new air conditions, etc., they come into play. So that purchasing power is increased. The consumer gets that additional motivational factor of spending because the rates have suddenly come down. That was in any case in the bucket list. The consumers will also wait from now till 22nd, which is a good thing because that's Navratri is the time when people in any case wait
Right.
15 days before Navratri. So I think it's a very good move in terms of deadline. It's a very good move in terms of rate rationalization. It helps both industry and consumers, and as in turn as a corollary would help the Indian economy to make an impact on the GDP as well.
Yes, we can absolutely call it a Navratri gift or ahead of Diwali, a Diwali gift for the consumers and for all the citizens. My next question to you is, what are the sectors that you think, can you list out those sectors for which it's a win-win situation for the consumer and for the sectors like auto sector? I can say that because now it's easier for those who are going to buy their first cars. They might aim to buy those cars earlier, but for luxury cars, it's still costlier.
So I think let's start with the services. Services, there are clearly identified sectors like the insurance sector, the life insurance and the health insurance. Major boost to the insurance sector, major boost at the same time to the consumer because these insurance services are very essential. So the base would increase now for the insurance coverage. So insurance sector gains, the consumer gains. The second is, some of these are sort of aspirational services which middle class would want to procure. I mean, would want to have a haircut or waxing at a premium outlet. Now that comes down from 18% to 5%. We understand from the PMO that the Prime Minister has gone into details of several of these goods and services. So there is an informed decision which has been taken by the Honorable Prime Minister. So these things would make a lot of difference. So when you would go for a haircut and the value is 200 rupees, 36 rupees on it makes it a little closer to 250. But now with a very less rate of 5%, it is just 10 rupees. So 210 rupees to 10. So it makes a lot of difference when the rate with respect to these services, including spa services, goes down from 18% to 5%. So I think these sectors would certainly get the benefit. There is no doubt about it. Of course, there are certain classes, because you asked about the revenue, whether it would go down. There
Right.
is some arithmetic that which services can go up. So there would be some additional tax revenue from those services as well. And we can come to that in a moment. Now, coming to the goods part, which is also the pertinent question, I think in terms of the car sales and the motorcycle sales, this is the season to buy, because from the income tax perspective also, and from the festival perspective also, people buy car during this time. So I
Right.
think automobile sector would get a major boost. FMCG sector again, will get the boost because these products have seen a lot of these rate cuts. Now, if we come to the white goods part, because white goods would be in terms of the higher value, they form the major portion in terms of the GST collection. Now, if you see the air conditioners, refrigerators, microwaves, and all these things have come down, including TVs. There is no restriction. So you buy a bigger one. So possibly even the middle class person would want to have a TV which is more than 32 inches. That was in the bucket list, but
Right.
was not able to buy that. The moment there is a 10% reduction in the taxes, the substantial cost comes down from 1 lakh rupee to it comes to 90,000. So I think these white goods will see a lot of splurge, will see a lot of spending, and it will contribute positively to the GDP as well. So these are the sectors which we feel would be very, very positively impacted.
Yes, but there is some criticism also because now opposition is questioning the timing of it. So I would like our viewers to listen in what senior Congress leader and Rajya Sabha MP P. Chidambaram has said.
நான் இருக்கேங்க ஜிஎஸ்டி வரி இதில் மாற்றங்கள் கொண்டாந்துருக்காங்க. அதிகமான வரி விதிச்சு இப்போ வந்து 18% வந்து 5% ஆகியிருக்காங்க. அந்த மாதிரி
இந்த மாற்றங்களை வரவேற்கிறோம். ஆனால் 8 ஆண்டுகள் கழித்து
Okay, so I'll explain what Mr. P. Chidambaram has said. Basically, P. Chidambaram has said it's too late and too little. So, Mr. Rastogi, I'll come back to you again. My question to you is, because now opposition is questioning that GST rationalization and the reduction in rates on a range of goods and services are welcome, but 8 years is too late. It's a too late time. What is your take, sir?
No, I don't think that is a fair statement, to be very honest. The GST collections have been robust. Please also understand that the central government was to compensate for the losses of the state if these are, incurred by the states. So the rationalization could have happened only at a stage when the compensation problem has been resolved. And believe me or not, even today, if you see the deadline for the rate implementation is 22nd of September, but with respect to the sin goods, which are pan masala, gutka, cigarettes, chewing tobacco, zarda, and unmanufactured tobacco and BDs, the date has not been fixed. And there's a reason to that, because the collection from this still goes to compensate the states. Now, this rate rationalization could not have taken before this date for a reason, because then the states would have incurred losses. The compensation would have come from nothing else but from the compensation cess. So technically, the date is correct and pragmatic. The other thing is that why this rate rationalization and implementation is today important, because the country wants to grow based on the domestic consumption with all of these international geopolitical stress and the tariffs coming in. So it was important from that perspective also that this rate rationalization happens at this stage. And I think this is a pragmatic move and the timing is absolutely correct.
So my last question to you is now, can you please explain how GST revenue was utilized? Because now the FM has also said that there would be a revenue loss to the government also. So for our viewers, let's break it down. The GST collection was utilized by government in which sector?
So the GST collection, first let's understand that how this GST collection was happening. If there is a 100 rupee GST, 50 rupees CGST part and 50 rupees SGST part, the states would keep the 50 rupees of the state GST part, and from the central GST part, they would get 41% as per the Finance Commission and as per the Indian Constitution. So effectively, the state would get 50 rupees plus 20 rupees and 50 paise, so approximately 70 rupees from the collection of 100 rupees. That would go to the state.
Right.
Now, under the new scenario, that formula remains the same. It gets tweaked only with a very fractional percentage. So around 70% the states will still get, to which they could use the funds from the collection. As far as the center is concerned, the center was collecting these compensation cess, which was being used exclusively to give to the states in case there is a revenue loss. Now the 28% items, a lot of these items go to 40%, but now there is no cess to the extent which was there to the extent of 25% once this comes into play, which means that the states will now get 70% of the collection from the 40% collection. So in my earlier example of 100 rupees, the tax increases and hence the collections of the state also increases. Estimated collection of the states for those goods would increase by 40%. So if they were collecting 100 rupees from that, it would go to 140 rupees. Now, as far as the utilization is concerned, the state has those state subjects where they have to spend the money as per the Indian Constitution. The federal government has the subjects on which it has to spend. So, for instance, defense, etc. they come under the purview of the federal government. So the central government would spend this on infrastructure, defense, etc., which are these identified expenditures in our union budget. The budget allocation would not change because we feel that from the consumption and the increased GDP, the revenue would not dip significantly. Similarly, as far as the states are concerned, they should not be worried too much because the overall impact, which is estimated, is about 90,000 crores. If we see the figures, these figures were about 90,000 to 1 lakh crore 2 years back. The collection has
Right.
now gone to 24 lakhs. So that percentage, even if you compare it with today's number, is only 3 to 4%. And that is when this actual revenue goes down, because I had told earlier also that 23% of the items are in other than the standard rate of 18%. So I don't think a lot of this collection will go down. Everybody has been talking about the rate cuts, but there are certain aspects with where the rates have also increased, so that the revenue loss is not much. These are air transport services, the business class transportation. The rate has gone up to 18%. Then there are passenger transport where fuel cost is included. So your rent a cab facility would go up from 12% to 18%. Supply of transport of goods in containers by rail, other than Indian Railways, also goes up to 18%. And similarly, there are other services with respect to this transportation of goods also, including renting of goods, carriage, where fuel cost is included in the consideration. All of this goes to a higher rate, to 18%. So I think there are certain identified services also which go from 12% to 18%. Similarly, 28% also goes to 40%. So there should
Right.
not be a very long gap between the collection. So I would not say that this is the situation of robbing Peter to pay Paul, but yes, certainly that arithmetic has been done so as to ensure that the fiscal deficit, etc., is under control.
Yes, certainly, absolutely. This has come after a long time. It was long due, and mulling must have been done with the experts. And thank you so much, sir, for joining with us and breaking it down for our viewers also on FPJ. And I would like to say that it's a big relief, seems like big relief, and we hope that viewers and consumers will be able to save more money in their pockets and would be able to in a position to utilize their money well. Thank you so much.
Inderjeet, absolutely that will happen. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Thank you.